moving on. Even as the events were unfolding in Dhaka on August 5, Jammu and Kashmir marked the 5th anniversary of the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. Partly overshadowed by the Bangladesh developments and in good measure because Kashmir Valley is actually peaceful, the anniversary went off the media radar. So let's put some searchlight on what's up with Jammu and Kashmir 5 years after that momentous decision of the Modi government on August 5, 2019.
राष्ट्रपति संसद की सिफारिश पर यह घोषणा करते हैं कि यह दिनांक जिस दिन भारत के राष्ट्रपति द्वारा इस घोषणा पर हस्ताक्षर किए जाएंगे और इसे सरकारी गैजेट में प्रकाशित किया जाएगा, उस दिन से अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे.
A couple of weeks back, Get Me Right focused on the increased terror activity in Jammu region of the Union Territory. I had highlighted how Pakistan changed strategy after failing miserably in the valley. Taking advantage of India's security grid in Jammu and Kashmir, getting preoccupied with Ladakh post-Galwan clashes of 2020, scores of terrorists have been infiltrated into the forested hills of Jammu region and over a dozen terror acts executed. While there was a clear case of slip-up on the part of our security apparatus on Jammu side, gaps have been quickly filled. Even some heads have rolled. But this gives you an idea of the success of New Delhi insofar as the valley is concerned. When was the last time you saw pictures of the post-Friday prayers ritualistic stone pelting from Srinagar? None. The death of Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani of Hurriyat went in a whimper. Kashmiris can enjoy multiplex experience in Srinagar now, and cinema halls are back in towns like Baramulla, Handwara and Pulwama. Over 100 movies, Bollywood movies, have been shot in the valley in the last few years. The Shia community of Kashmir could carry out the Muharram or Ashura processions in the valley after a gap of over 3 decades. Schools and university campuses in Jammu and Kashmir are reporting a regular academic cycle with zero loss of days to hartals. Obviously, the students and the youth are benefiting. Parents are happy, and I spoke to some of them before including this in my program. There is visible improvement in infrastructure, from roads to railways, from power sector to social sector, across the Union Territory. Tourism economy is in an upswing, getting reflected in state's gross domestic product, which increased from rupees 1,60,000 crores or $20 billion in 2019 to rupees 2,60,000 crores or about $32 billion now. Average monthly GST collections increased from rupees 456 crores in 2019 to roughly 700 crore rupees now. But then Kashmir was never an economic issue or a problem. It was never about development. It was always about a psyche. My first visit to the valley was in 2016 in the aftermath of the Burhan Wani protests. At the taxi stand in Srinagar, when I asked to be taken to Anantnag, the drivers talked of taking me to Islamabad instead. That was the word on the ground for the ancient capital of Kashmir. Imagine. Standing outside the National Institute of Technology in Srinagar, our reporting was disrupted a couple of times by groups of schoolboys carrying satchels on their backs, stopping by to shout Azadi before moving on casually. Many might have had similar experiences whenever they have traveled to Kashmir. Azadi! 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 The mindset was of being different, separate, hence the separatism. There's of course a long complex history behind it. But in its physical form, the separatism was enshrined in the Constitution of India in the form of Article 370, embellished with Article 35A. In one stroke, the Modi government removed the structure, the dhacha, on August 5 of 2019. I say dhacha because the soul of Article 370 had anyway been denuded over the last 6 decades. The BJP government dared to remove the rump and got all credit for the dare. The abrogation was on the party's manifesto since its birth in 1980 and fountainhead of BJP's ideological journey, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee had sacrificed his life for the cause in 1953. Narendra Modi himself hoisted the tricolour at Lal Chowk in 1991, and the abrogation of Article 370 was an article of faith for anyone associated with the BJP RSS thought. The Modi government handled the fallout particularly well, both inside and outside. Riding the economic heft that India has acquired in the recent years, international reactions were easily handled. In fact, there was hardly any negative reaction that needed serious engagement beyond stating the obvious. Kashmir was an internal matter of India, so lay off. Most surprisingly was the Pakistani reaction. Having curated this thought in the minds of common Kashmiris that Pakistan would stand by them till eternity, Islamabad's prosaic, muted response must have caught the likes of Gilani by shock and surprise. Not a happenstance, perhaps, that his health went downhill since then. I go back to a book written by Pakistan's former High Commissioner to India, Abdul Basit, who can be credited as being the most hostile Pakistani ambassador to Delhi in recent times. Called Hostility, the book chronicles the build-up to the abrogation of Article 370 and the kind of spadework put in by the Modi government in its first term. Between the PMO, Jaishankar, then India's Foreign Secretary, and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, Pakistan was convinced that Hurriyat was a no-go area if Pakistan wanted to do any business with India. Imran Khan's government was caught in a blue funk on August 5, writes Basit. Blue funk means panic and fear. In a telling commentary on Pakistan's standing within the Muslim nations, it failed to get a special session of the Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC, on Kashmir. Pakistan also failed to get a special session of the UNHRC in Geneva. It needed 16 votes for the session to be called, and yet none of the 47 members of the body, including 8 Muslim nations, obliged. At the UN Security Council in New York, Pakistan had to satisfy itself with an informal consultation under the agenda item any other business, and not Kashmir, and that too courtesy of China. The French did not respond to Pakistani calls till after the meeting was over, and no statement was made out. If this was not enough humiliation, at the UN General Assembly session that year, except for Turkey, Malaysia, and Iran, no other Muslim nation mentioned Kashmir or protested India's position. A perplexed Basit concludes that Pakistan should stop projecting Kashmir as an Islamic issue altogether. The import of this conclusion is for our Kashmiri brothers to understand. Not that Pakistan has lost all leverage to create trouble in Jammu and Kashmir using its homegrown terror machine. Terror attacks in Jammu clearly underscore that capacity. Also, that Pakistan remains an economic mess provides India with a window to consolidate gains made over the last 5 years. I would briefly address the complexity, not fully within the scope of this program, but still. Kashmir can easily degenerate into a Hindu-Muslim problem, which Pakistan would so love. At the root of Pakistan's 3 decades of inhuman terror project in Kashmir has been the unfinished agenda of partition in Pakistani minds. Kashmir is not a Hindu-Muslim problem. India has more Muslims living with us than there are in Pakistan. And to make sure it is never seen as one, rest of India must make sure communal issues do not get the kind of play they sometimes get. There has to be a parallel reform within, and to which I would keep coming back. Just last week, the Shia Association of Kashmir petitioned Ministry of External Affairs to intervene in Pakistan and stop the Shia genocide going on in the Khurram agency of Pakistan's troubled Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. This obviously happened because the trust in the government of India is more than in the government of Pakistan now. Ultimately, it is for the Kashmiris to understand. with the benefit of hindsight, if a great mass of citizens of Jammu and Kashmir realize that their bread is better buttered with India, if staying with India gives them economic stability and well-being, if with India they can become citizens of a developed country and not a moth-eaten failed state, if staying with India gives their future generations security of life and aspirations against the uncertainties of a terror-infested, broken, radical society, Kashmiris would realize Pakistan is not an option. Last 5 years have seen a clear move in that direction. We just need to keep moving. Thanks for watching.